Welcome, everyone. This is the PartsVu Xchange Talks Boating Podcast. Here we chat about all things boating with marine industry professionals and enthusiasts who spend all the time they can out on the water.
Hi, this is Tanya Becker, and I'm your host for today's episode of PartsVu Xchange Talks Boating. I'm joined by my guests, Cole Smith, Aftermarket Sales Specialist at Uflex USA, and Charlie Haimes, a partner with the Haimes Coleman Group. Based in Sarasota, Florida, Uflex USA is a leader in steering and control systems for the marine industry. The Haimes Coleman Group is a sales organization made up of highly experienced and knowledgeable marine industry professionals. They represent 20 of the leading brands in the industry, including Uflex, and have a fascinating bird's-eye view of the market. All powerboat hydraulic steering systems are not created equally. Today, we'll discuss some of the differences among systems, new technologies, and recommendations for steering system decisions. Thanks so much for being here today, guys.
Well, thanks for inviting us, Tanya. We're looking forward to have a great session with you today.
Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Let's roll. So, I think many of our listeners have a good understanding of the basics of hydraulic steering systems. But to set the stage a bit, could you offer a quick overview of how hydraulic steering works and some of the benefits compared to mechanical steering systems? If you want to kick this one off, Cole.
So as you see a mechanical system compared to a hydraulic system, a lot of the components are the same, but different at the same time. So when looking at a hydraulic system, we have a hydraulic helm, which is also referred to as a pump. We have a hydraulic cylinder, which is also a hydraulic ram with hoses that connect the two. So as you're steering, one of the biggest differences between mechanical and hydraulic is just that horsepower you can push. The reduced torque that it really puts on the boat driver allows you to have a more enjoyable experience and run a whole lot more horsepower down that wherever you're driving.
Yeah. You have any thoughts, Charlie?
Yeah, on the hydraulic, on the mechanical steering, it's a direct connect. You got a cable, a helm attached to the motor. With hydraulics, you got the pump with pistons in there pushing fluid out the helm into the cylinder as the cylinder moves left and right. But what's great about hydraulics is when you let go of that wheel, it stays locked in a straight position, or turn whatever direction you're going into. And that's one of the bigger effects or advantages of hydraulic over mechanical. And like Cole said, the higher horsepower, we're reaching some huge horsepower now with our outboards, and Uflex has got a system that fits every horsepower needed.
I kind of always think about the difference between power steering and non-power steering in old school cars. You used to have trucks without power steering, and it took a bit to control those or steer them.
Early on, when hydraulic first came out, it was thought as hydraulic was power steering because it felt that good and that smooth compared to that old, mechanical steering or mercury ride guides. So you felt you had to force and turn that wheel, especially on an outboard. You've got a lot of torque in one direction, not the other. And hydraulic, it really smooths it out. So it does feel more like a power steering, especially a good, efficient hydraulic system.
I think it's reasonable to say that many of today's powerboats are equipped at the factory with hydraulic steering systems, but smaller boats, and I think older boats, often still have mechanical systems. Is this an accurate statement? What are you seeing out there, Charlie?
Kind of what I just alluded to. Yeah, the older boats before hydraulics, it was really mechanical steering, and the evolution of hydraulics over the last 30, 40 years has been huge. Very much more efficient systems, longer lasting systems. But your entry level boats today will still have mechanical steering because it's a price point. These builders are trying to get an economy boat to the market, which is great, to get that entry level consumer to boat. But once these boaters start using their boat, they go, you know what? I don't like that torque at the wheel. How do I upgrade? What can I upgrade to? And you can easily upgrade to hydraulics. So there is that opportunity from either the lower horsepower boats or older boats to upgrade to hydraulics across the board.
I haven't seen official data on this. Of course, we know powerboat sales went through the roof, when the pandemic settled in. But I'm hearing anecdotally that there's been a huge increase in, small boats, small horsepower engines. So I'm sure a lot of those boats, obviously, as to your point, Charlie, don't have hydraulic steering systems. So that seems like an opportunity for upgrades and making those boats a bit more enjoyable.
Right. And we have, and with Uflex, we've got some really nice upgrades on our mechanical steering system. We've got our standard Rotec that's been around a number of years with a planetary gear design, centered shaft, very efficient. But then 4 years ago, we launched our Fortec, which is a high efficiency mechanical steering system. And we've really grabbed the market with this new system because it's even more efficient than our other system was. And not that it's as easy as hydraulics, but it's pretty close, and it's a pretty impressive performing system. So we do have some unique upgrades on mechanical steering.
Oh, cool. That's interesting.
And that's another thing to point at. If somebody's not familiar with hydraulics and they're used to steering a mechanical boat, we offer such a availability to even run a semi-high horsepower engine with still mechanical steering. So kind of helps that new boater if they're just stepping into the industry.
That makes tons of sense. And plenty of people can use some forgiveness on their pocketbooks.
Yes.
I'm sure this is not a cheap hobby, really,
Well,
necessarily.
Depends on what you want to do.
True.
That's right. There's plenty of people with boats far nicer than my house, so it's everything's relative, I
Sure.
guess. Cole, the Uflex hydraulic steering systems are an aftermarket option, I believe, for upgrading a boat steering system. When do boaters commonly turn to Uflex? Is it, we talked about this a bit, but is it commonly to upgrade or replace the hydraulic steering system original to their boat? Or are they, I think we've, discussed it's, commonly small boaters or older boaters, boaters with older boats.
Sure. Yeah, we see a lot of both, to be honest with you. Guys or girls, of course, running, to Charlie's point, an economy boat, if they're getting out there and they buy a boat that's, within their price range, that kind of thing. And then a year or two down the road, they say, hey, you know what? I kind of want to upgrade this. Where can I start? Well, steering is a great place to start with that. You can have an economy boat and still run that thing like it's a, $100,000, $200,000 boat. So we see that from the aspect of older boats getting refitted with our products. And we also see, even new boats or people just replacing their hydraulics that they have right now. We back our reliability and our durability of our products. And we see that a lot of time that people would rather maybe switch to Uflex and have a system that's going to last them for years and years to come with the same reliability. So those are two of the bigger ones that we see.
Yeah. What do you see, Charlie?
Yeah, we again agreeing with Cole. We also see two aspects there too. One is they've had in their older boats. They have maybe a competitive steering system that helm is leaking down the dash, and they're tired of replacing that seal every year. Let's upgrade to Uflex on a helm, or same thing with the cylinder. That's leaking, and we see a lot of upgrades. And what's great about Uflex is we're a direct replacement. So every one of our helms and our cylinders and our hoses is interchangeable with any one of our competitors. And both holes are all the same. So we're really that perfect opportunity to upgrade the performance and reliability of an older system. And then what we also, to elaborate on number two, is we're seeing higher horsepower boats. So people are refurbishing their boats. Boats have gotten really expensive, and you can't get a boat today. You may be waiting 2 years to get a boat. So they're taking their old boat and say, let me repower it. Let me get rid of those old two-stroke motors, and I'm going to put some nice, 300, 350 four-strokes on the back of this boat. Well, they need to upgrade that steering system. So here's another opportunity where Uflex has stepped in with our high-quality systems, like our UC130 or Silver Steer, and really given that consumer, the dealer, a much better steering boat, for those higher horsepower outboards. So we got a lot of options for you.
Yeah, that's, to your point about, people waiting for new boats. 2020 production schedule slots are full, most manufacturers I'm hearing. I think we're not hearing this officially, but I think 2023 slots are mostly full, much of the way.
Sure.
So,
Yep.
It's a good time to think about upgrading and refining a bit rather than counting on a new boat.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's turn to some of the differences among hydraulic steering systems. When we look across the industry, what are some of the biggest differentiators between Uflex and competitive systems out there? Cole, do you want to chime in here?
Yeah, sure. One of the biggest things that Uflex backs itself on is our American, and our counterpart in Italy is our manufacturing capabilities and our assembly capabilities. We love that we're internal to the United States and Italy. They do a great job over there with steering wheels and that kind of thing, hand stitched. It's a beautiful product. So we really back ourselves on that. It's some more component-wise things that we do. Charlie is a big proprietor of this. We have a bit of an improved end seal in our cylinders that we think is a huge help to us. Instead of having to replace those every year and a half, we see that they're a little bit more bulky and a little bit more in length, and so it helps us a little bit in not having to retrofit those so often. We also run one of our specific cylinders. It's a UC 130, one of our higher horsepower that is featured in our Silver Steer kit, as well as if you get like a ZTF tiller that we do. This cylinder is through ported, so if you have hoses that come at an odd angle or come in from one side of the transformer or another, it's through ported, so you can go on either side of those. And the great thing about that as well is if you have multiple engines, you don't have to have multiple hoses. You can have one liquid tie bar or hoses to connect each one of them. So it makes it a little bit easier. A couple other things about our cylinders. We run a carbon steel piston. It's extremely reliable. We don't see any problems with that. We have a link arm connected to the engine that is electro polished and passivated. So we don't need a grounding wire to eliminate corrosion or electrolysis in the water. And then lastly, we think we like to run a beautiful product. And so some of the cosmetic changes that we have in our systems, we like the way they look. Specifically, our nickel plated fittings at the end of our cylinders, they don't turn green. They don't lose their coloring. They stay shiny. They look beautiful on the back of your boat. You got a beautiful boat. You got a beautiful engine. Let's put a beautiful steering system on there and show the world, what Uflex can really put the image into your life. So those are just a few things that we like to include.
Yeah, Charlie, I mean, is it true? I think if I understand correctly, some of the components that are typically plastic on some of the competitive systems are metal or other materials in the Uflex system. Is that correct?
Sure. As Cole mentioned, our carbon steel pistons versus our
competitors. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
A plastic piston in their cylinders. Like
Mm-hmm.
all of our helms, the shaft on that on our hydraulic helm, they're stainless steel. Where our competitor is aluminum on their basic units, and that flexes a lot, and that's what creates a lot of that seal leaking. We have zero seal failures. We have, very rarely do we have any seals leaking. Our competitors over the years, they had some issues. So we feel that and really everything in our Uflex line we feel is as good or better than our competitor. And I'll elaborate, we're direct replacements. So we don't mind mixing and matching. I forgot to mention that earlier. If you want to use our helm, competitor's cylinder, or our cylinder on their helm, interchanging hoses, we have no problem. We believe in our product. Everything we have is a 2-year warranty, and we don't mind mixing and matching because in the end, the consumer is getting a better product. And when the consumer's happy, guess what? The dealer's happy, and even more so, he buys his next boat, another boat, and then we all win, right? So we have as an industry done a great job of building better products, and we feel with Uflex we've helped, at least do that or help the consumer, at least on the steering side.
That makes tons of sense. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a great point that Charlie makes. Real quick, Tanya, it's just that we're even continuing to grow every day. We're learning from the industry what's going on with our competitors, what's going on with us. So we're continually innovating our stuff just to make a better experience for that end consumer.
That's great. And speaking of learning from the industry, I mean, Charlie, you and your firm work closely with so many players in the marine industry. I mean, from your observations and just, what you're hearing out there, does the market value the superior engineering of the Uflex steering system? I mean, value it in terms of, embracing it, I guess. Or is it just a nice to have?
No, they're embracing it. Again, we're the fastest growing steering company over the last, 25 years. So we've gained a lot of market share. And we've gained a lot of OEM presence because of the quality of our product, the quality of the company. And, we're more than competitively priced, but, a quality boat builder or consumer doesn't care about price. He wants safety. He wants features and benefits, longevity. And we've been able to do that with Uflex since the beginning. And like I referred to earlier, and if we can keep that customer happy boating and not having that helm leaking every year, he's got to replace that seal, they get aggravated. And we, in the 80s, we lost a lot of customers. People left our industry. Today, we are building a great product in the marine industry. Consumers are happy, it's growing, and products like Uflex are helping contribute to that, like I talked about before. And again, we meet new people every day, and we never want that statement, of hey, I'm happy I sold my boat. We want them saying, hey, I'm happy when I bought my second boat, my third boat. Again, and we're doing that now. We've got a lot of great boat builders now out there with and great motors. So I think that's the direction we're going.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a boat builder, I would certainly want more reliable components on it. I mean, for sure. I mean, that's just a no-brainer in my opinion.
We like to think the same thing.
Cole, I think I'd like you to start with this one. How would you advise customers looking to select the best hydraulic steering system for them, for their boat? I mean, what factors should be at the forefront of their thinking when they're thinking about their options?
Yeah, I think the first place that anybody has to start is what kind of engine you're running and how big that engine is. That's the reason we have so many options for low horsepower and high horsepower. Some of our products work differently among engine manufacturers. But we've done a great job to specify those along their lines so that they work to the highest potential that they have to be the best on that engine. So we would start with the engine, make and model. We would be curious about the type of vessel they run. Some boats definitely run different than others. If you got a flat bottom boat, if you got a deep V boat, that kind of thing, they all run different, have different kind of torques behind that engine. And then, you can even inquire on what kind of activities they're doing. If somebody's ripping through the mangroves, steering really tight, or if they're just out, cruising on a pontoon, definitely different options that somebody has. So we like to at least specify those three and then take it from there.
Yeah. Thoughts, Charlie?
No, agreed. It's horsepower and then hull design. A pontoon boat that may have a 150 on it, but they're only going 20 mile an hour. Mechanical steering is probably perfect, but if it's at 150 on a high-speed bass boat or flats boat, he definitely wants one of our high-quality, silver steer steering systems, or one of our high techs. So it's really horsepower. Doesn't really matter the brand, but it's horsepower and boat style. So and those are really the two areas of really picking out the right hydraulic steering system or mechanical steering system.
I'll mention this in my close, and we'll certainly include the link in the show notes. But there's a really handy, how to select a steering system section on the Uflex website. So I found that I went, was reviewing that and found it quite helpful. So I think other folks will as well. So,
and what's great on the website too is there's a lot of installation videos there, do-it-yourself videos. So Uflex has really spent a lot of time and effort creating these online video content over the last couple of years. So it's really a great avenue of learning for, a dealer, boat builder, and a consumer.
Cole, has there been any recent updates, advancements in the Uflex product line, technologies you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier, we're constantly innovating. Our engineers do a great job. They're constantly getting their brains rattled to where we can take the next step forward. Over the last, I'd say, about 18 months, the industry has seen a rollout of two of our newer cylinders that we have. Our UC95, which is featured in our high tech and high coke kits. Before we had a UC94, and now this 95. We implemented rechangeable seals, a higher horsepower. We used to run a 150 horsepower. This is rated up to 175. So it just gives that just a better option for against our competition and just for the consumer. We spoke a little bit about our UC128 earlier. We improved that a bit as well with keying our bullhorns. So it makes it a little bit easier for our service dealers or just guys out in the field doing their own retrofits. It's really tough to take those off if you didn't have the keyed bullhorns. So now we're allowed to put a wrench on there, crank that end rod, and it just makes it a lot easier to remove that rod through there. We did a few upgrades with the boss fittings on the front, and then as well with the end seals, made those replaceable, and a new end seal. One of the bigger things for Uflex that we're really, really looking forward to rolling out is our Integra. So it's our fly-by-wire electric steering system. We're still getting there. We still have a few steps to go, but it absolutely will be available on an aftermarket side, and not just an OEM and a certified dealer side. We'll have full joystick capabilities, and we're really looking forward to that. We're getting close, and it's on our horizon. So,
Do you expect it to launch this year at some point, or?
There will be aspects of it that will, but
Okay.
yeah, it's getting there. We're waiting for the right time. We're fully capable. We have everything ready to go. We're just waiting for a good rollout, really, for it in the time of the world. So
not some super crazy time where it's hard to move around the country and demonstrate things to folks.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Yeah. And I'll say Uflex is also expanding our facilities. We saw these last really 2 years that we have the capability to expand and grow our manufacturing capabilities. And so we are currently in the process of that. And so hopefully that'll help our customers get more product out and allow more people to enjoy the things that we do.
Charlie, do you have any thoughts on some of the interesting things you've seen out of Uflex?
Yeah, no, again, the expansion of the facility is great. And, to elaborate a little on that UC95 cylinder or that comes in our high-tech and high-co kit, the market is from 175 horsepower down is huge. You got bass boats, flats boats, bay boats, center consoles, and we have that ultimate steering system for that world right now. There's a competitive product that's been out for a long time that this new system we have, this UC95 cylinder, it runs so well. It's a mini version of our UC128. So it's that robust. It looks great, performs exceptionally well. And you're going to see a lot of marketing on this product over this year because there's so much demand for a higher quality steering system in that horsepower range. So you're going to see a lot going there. And also our steering wheels. Going to our website, utilizing our catalog, we have the largest selection of custom wheels in the market. We've got a variety of colors and sizes and styles that fit really any aspect of the marine market. You got a go fast boat, you got a flats boat, you got a center console. We've got it in a variety of sizes, colors, shapes, carbon fiber, polished stainless, you name it. And what's unique about wheels is really that's something we touch every time we boat. It's in front of us. We're touching that every time we turn that steering system. And a lot of people forget to replace that steering wheel. You do a repower of that boat I was talking about. You're replacing, put twin 300s in the back of his whatever kind of center console. And we've got, he's got those brand new motors. Now he's got that bling factor of the Uflex cylinders back there with that stainless steel all polished. But then you go to that, he's got that brand new helm, and he forgets to change that steering wheel.
It's all grimy.
Going to our, right. So, again, and some wheels, don't get me wrong, some wheels last a long time, but here's another opportunity to really upgrade your boat. Get a new wheel, matches the color of your interior, the guy might like it. Hey, his wife might like it too.
That's right.
It's kind of, you've got that look in that boat. So, we do a great job with steering wheels with Uflex. So take a look.
So this is one of my favorite parts. Not that talking about steering isn't hydraulic steering isn't amazing. I definitely enjoy that. But wanted to. I always like to ask people kind of a non-professional related question. Just where are some of your favorite places to boat? Where do you love to go, Cole?
Well, I grew up most of my life so far in freshwater, but I think my heart is, I just lose it every time I go to the Keys. It's just, it takes me away every time. There's something, it don't matter how many times you go there. It's something else just to captivate you. And I would have to say down in the Keys and off the Panhandle is just my favorite. I could spend my whole life down there.
Yeah. How about you, Charlie?
Key West. Yeah. I raced offshore powerboats for 18 years and I loved it down there for the World Championships. And we always had good success down there. So it's a special place in my heart for boating. But you go down there, you got, a cool little town, a lot of stuff to do, boating. You go fishing, diving. The water's beautiful. Just hanging out, we always joke about that Keysy lifestyle. Everybody's relaxed down there, not a care in the world, right? So when we go down to Key West, that cell phone for some reason kind of just shuts down. Those emails kind of shut down for a little while, and we enjoy ourselves.
Yeah,
probably too much.
Key West, it is.
That Keysy lifestyle has changed a lot in recent years. I mean, the first time that I went down there as a young adult, it was still. Parts of it were still inexpensive enough that you could have, writers, artists, that kind of more bohemian kind of scene. And I don't think it's gotten a little pricey for that.
True.
Yep. Hey, it's attractive.
You were probably, Yeah, you were probably down there for Fantasy Fest too, I bet, right?
I don't know what that is. I don't think I was there. But you never know. Well, thanks so much for being no. Thanks so much for being here today, guys. I mean, PartsVu is so proud to carry the Uflex steering system products and systems. So I encourage our listeners to go to partsvu.com and check out our offerings. And I've included a link in the show notes to that, as well as a link to the Uflex USA website. And as I mentioned before, I've also included a link to the how to select a steering system section housed within the Uflex USA site. Like I said, I found those resources to be quite helpful, and I think our listeners will too. So thanks again. Thanks for being here, Cole and Charlie. Really enjoyed it.
Hey, me too. I really enjoyed speaking to you. We appreciate it.
Great. We enjoyed it. Anytime we can talk to you all, it's enjoyable for us. So thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the PartsVu Xchange Talks Boating podcast. Is it almost time for routine maintenance on your outboard or Mercruiser marine engine? Check out our easy-to-use maintenance kits at partsvu.com. And for free shipping, use the coupon code PVTalksBoating, a special perk for our podcast listeners. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram for boating knowledge, to keep in touch with the PartsVu community, and for special sales and promotions. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and check out the show notes for the coupon code just mentioned, more information about PartsVu and the products we offer, as well as our boating blog, the PartsVu Exchange. And a big thanks to Min for performing the original music featured within this podcast.